Hi, everyone. Welcome back to AI Alpha podcast, where we explore how AI and data reshaping private capital. We are looking beyond the hype to find practical strategies to accelerate ROI and optimize productivity in deploying private capital. Today, we have incredible guests who bridging the gap between relationship-driven brokerage and the tech-enabled future. Joining me is the Cody Doran, Senior Vice President at SVN Chicago Commercial. Cody is a multifamily specialist with a deep focus on affordable and market rate housing. Cody, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sameta. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And hopefully we all stay warm
Yeah,
this weekend. Cody, before I jump into the future of capital, I want to go a little bit past. Your background, you are spent several years as a controller of EAR technologies, and you are having an accounting degree. And you've been doing all these P&L, regulatory compliance things for almost several years. And now you are in the real estate investment side. Walk us through your journey and what are the challenges you see now in real estate investment?
Yeah. So I did start as a controller at a semiconductor company, and we actually started buying properties, which was my introduction into real estate. We were buying office properties in downtown Chicago. So I got to learn a little bit of how to underwrite early on in my career, albeit it was office, not multifamily, but it did give me the exposure into real estate. And it was eye-opening. I gravitated towards it quite a bit. And then our company, during the GFC, we were over leveraged and unfortunately went under. And my buddy Reed Bennett, who, if you're not on LinkedIn or if you live under a rock, you know who Reed Bennett is on LinkedIn. He came to me. We were friends, and he just said, have you ever considered brokerage? In which I was like, no, 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 I'm not a sales guy. No, that's not. I'm an accountant. I'm a little bookworm. And he just said, you might want to give it some consideration. And a couple of months later, found out I just didn't want to be in accounting, and like talked to my wife, and she was like, you should give it a shot. And so I dipped my toes into brokerage, and you could argue whether it was the worst or the best time. It was January 2010. Velocity was very, very low. Lenders were not really interested in lending at the time, but it gave me the opportunity to meet a lot of individuals, sit down, have coffee with people because people weren't as busy. And I got to pick their brains, learn about how they got into real estate. And I got to learn a little bit here and there about affordable housing. I didn't really know too much about affordable housing. And I go have coffee with the developers and learn how they were putting these deals together. And, I'd buy them coffee, and they kind of spill the beans a little bit. So I learned that process. And then while also prospecting for sellers, I did find one guy that said, hey, I do want to sell this. And it happened to be 100% project-based Section 8 portfolio mixed with a smaller low-income housing tax credit, Section 42 development. And that's when I really cut my teeth on the affordable housing arena.
Well, that's great. Do you like sales and marketing now? Because that's what I was reading your bio. I was, okay, he's accounting. Right now he's on like sales and marketing. That's your day-to-day life, right? You like it now?
Yeah. I've grown to love it. I think I was naturally what I've learned is I'm naturally a service oriented person. I'm a person that services people, and I'm trying to find what I can do for somebody else. And in sales, in my position, all the data that we have, we can provide a lot of different services and value to clients with this data and help them, make hopefully the best decisions for what they're trying to achieve in their real estate goals with the data that we can provide for them, which is pretty great data in terms of rent, sales, and just market knowledge.
Right. Actually, that will give quite a good segue for us. Like you are having accounting background and you know valuation from like top to bottom. And previously valuation is more kind of human thing that you go evaluate this real estate, but now it's more kind of technology driven. There are some automated valuation models. They collect all this data and it will predict the valuation. So how do you see that transition that you've been in the industry since 2010? I think you may have seen these things come into the mainstream. How do you see that, and how do you think today, especially considering affordable housing, might not be have pretty good data, might be messy data, but how these predictive models of the valuation can play a big role in real estate and especially in the affordable housing market?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, AI is going to probably take over underwriting. I think there always will be a human component. I think you always still need to check on the technology. Just like driving a car, self-automated driving cars, you still need to touch the steering wheel. You still need to have your eyes on the road, right?
Oh my God! Yeah,
Somebody's always going to have to check the AI model. Now, what we'll use it for is for efficiency purposes, right? To try to get through things quicker and be more efficient for our clients. I think that's a better role. But, if you were to look at a human valuation model versus an AI model, the human has to kind of create it for AI, right? So you still have to build that model. And you're always, if you get into affordable housing, especially affordable housing, where there's different nuances to your underwriting, where, credit pricing is different. Your QAP is different, which is your qualified allocation plan. Are you sitting in a QCT? Are you in an opportunity zone? All of these contributing factors have a impact on your value and how you're underwriting and how you're going to execute that acquisition. So in terms of affordable housing, it's not to say that AI can't make a model and you can't have an underwriting model. It's just going to be very difficult and very nuanced. And I still think you're going to have a human inputting certain components to that because it's going to change per state, per location, per building. Is it ground up? Is it adaptive reuse? Is it existing? Is it coming from a market rate to affordable or vice versa? There's a lot of components that I just don't know if an AI generated valuation model can navigate through all of it just yet. Will we
just
get there?
it.
Will we get there? Probably. But at the same time, what impact does that have? Okay, you probably have less analysts, right? But you have one
Mm.
guy that's still going to have to make sure that that model is correct because when, especially affordable housing, case in point, we were working on a deal up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The property was sitting in a QCT. The QCT map changes in 2026, whereas the building now is no longer in a QCT. If we didn't get that building under contract in 2025 and get site control and get it in front of the housing authority, it would have lost 30% of value, and we're talking about a
Wow.
this is a $30 million plus asset, would have
Mhm.
lost percent of its value in a month just because
Wow.
it just because of that.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, and I've seen like a SVN. Tell me about SVN a little bit, like for the audience, like what SVN is about. And I have seen like there's seen a lot of data to growth, growth, and the bring values to the customers and partners. Let's go through that and what SVN is doing and exactly how that will bring values.
Yeah, SVN, we're unique in terms of being a national, international brokerage house. We do not have shareholders. We're franchise ran. So what our competitive advantage is that we're more of a proactive. We want to cooperate internally and externally with the brokerage community and get the maximum exposure for assets to get the maximum price. On this other side of that, SVN's trying to be very tech heavy in terms of trying to get predictive analytics and our salespeople with predictive analytics, maybe some AI underwriting. They're looking into all of that. I don't think we've found the silver bullet for all of that. We're also looking into, at least our group is, I can't speak for SVNI corporate, but we're trying to look into AI listing. They help you with your listing. So while we're sleeping, if you have a question about some of the attributes of a property, what's the unit mix, what are the average rents, we can have AI be answering those questions so you can get to a quicker offer and help accelerate potentially the marketing process.
Absolutely. That will be a 24 by 7 employee. I mean, it will give all the things. And that actually give a better experience for your client.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
for the clients that are looking at the deal, that they've got a live, basically a live agent telling them, and they can make, assumptions rather than try to call me or text me and get me on a phone call to answer some simple questions. It's
Hmm.
just should help accelerate the process and bring more offers.
Of course, absolutely. I mean, if you see the reverse that cycle right now, previously like cold emails, some maybe paper advertisement, all those things in previously, but now it's more kind of social media and all these technology driven thing. Do you see like is there in the same way that you discuss how AI can help? Do you see anywhere like AI will analyze a potential customer and see their data, and it will give you a better narrowed down prospect, saying, okay, this prospect is likely to buy, right, or likely to sell. So, do you think that is currently happening, or do you think that's a possibly a area that technology can help?
Where I'm seeing it more is on the sales side, predictive analytics for a seller, and all AI is doing is creating algorithms of things that we were trying to do from a human standpoint. So, look, best way to break it down is if you own a property, it's typically going to be leveraged, and you're going to be leveraged, based on your note, which is typically a multifamily, a 3 or 5 year, 7 or 10 year, unless you go HUD, and then you might go to a longer one, but we'll just use those. So let's just say, Samita, you own a property and your note's coming due. You need to make a decision. You only have three choices, right? You're going to hold the asset, you're going to refinance it, or you're going to sell it, right? So we know based off of your note that your predictive analytics is say Sameta's going to have to make a decision. He might be a seller. So you'll go into the hot zone based off of whatever predictive analytics you have. So were you using it on the sales side for, you know, they've held it for a certain period of time, something just happened in the market, or their notes coming due. So
Hmm.
probably should make a prospecting call. We have the database and the capability. Our database is pretty dynamic to where if you call me as a buyer, you say I have a certain profile, this is a criteria. We have that criteria. We could set that so when we do an email blast or a marketing blast on social media, whatever platform we're using, it'll target that specific group within our
Of
database. So we have that already. You could incorporate AI to do that. Sure. What we find in multifamily is there's not a lack of buyers.
bias.
You don't necessarily need predictive analytics for a buyer if you price the asset right.
Right, there's
You
bias. Yeah. You seems like more technically speaking as well, and the data. I think maybe because of your accounting background, like seller side data. I know like it might be a messy, some unstructured or not properly linked. So, do you think when a seller come to you, analyzing that seller's all the data, financial obligations and tax and everything? Is it easier with they have a better organized data? Or do you accept them to have like, okay, still all these papers, or do you wish that they will have all these digitalized and having access to that?
I think it's like anything in life. The better organized you are, the better the process is going to be. The sellers that have all of the files and have everything that we need for what we call a deal room. So what we try to do is we try to gather all that information up front, put it into a deal room. So anybody that wants to come look at it, they've got everything there. The sellers or not clients that we have that maybe not have a survey or don't have environmental, don't have floor plans, those I wouldn't say always tend to have a longer sales process, but the more organized you are, the quicker and more efficient the process typically is. So I would always encourage owners and anybody that's gearing up for a sale to make sure that they get their books and records in order. It looks better for the client. It looks better for everybody. There's less questions and it's a better process.
Yeah, absolutely. So in general, like, what's your prediction? Like, you've been in for like almost 15 years now, right? 2010 is 15 years. So that's the long enough time to understand all the nuances. How do you see, like, you've been there at the worst time? You started at the worst time. Now I think you have seen many cycles, worst to best. How do you think now the market is shaping?
I mean, real estate's always holds on to like old school things for whatever reason. But I think with AI and technology and where we're going, it's definitely going to reshape the commercial landscape, commercial real estate landscape. What it does for us is it makes us more efficient. We can put together marketing brochures quicker now because we have AI to help with, descriptions and other just things that normally take longer for a human to do. So I do see us becoming more efficient. The market's going to be the market. AI can't change the market, in my opinion. Maybe it can when AI starts controlling everything. Maybe then it could. But I do think AI is going to help rather than hurt. So I don't think everybody's just going to rely strictly on AI. It's going to
Yeah,
be a hybrid. There's always going to be a constant. I think you have to have a human component. Me personally, I don't think I would ever sell real estate through a computer or a machine. I need trust and I want that human element. I don't know if I
yeah,
could ever get past that. Some people might be able to. So I don't think my position necessarily is at risk at this moment. Maybe 5 years from now, who knows? AI, think I'm not going to be a guy that's anti AI. I think AI is going to be game changing. It's life changing. It's going to revolutionize how we as people do things. It already is. I mean, I would advise everybody that's in real estate to try to get some type of AI model to help speed it up, speed up your efficiency so you can get more offers out there and you can look at more deals quicker, but at the same time, cognizant that there could be errors. Because here's the other thing: what if an employer is now no longer, they're moving their corporate headquarters and your multifamily assets got 60% employed by them? Like, I don't know how AI is picking that up. Or or if you had like maybe you did a bunch of capital improvements, you did your parking lot and your roof and you're gearing up for a sale, but you left it in your P&Ls for tax purposes. AI, if somebody doesn't tell it that's a one-time expense, that that can screw up your model. So I still think you need some type of human element to even.
element in it. Yeah, absolutely. Like the two example you mentioned, it's just clearly say like you have to have the human in the loop to be sure, because those things someone has to enter correct data, right? Then only that your model will predict it correctly. Absolutely. I've been having discussion with some multifamily office, single family offices, PE firms, and real estates. They all say it's a game changing, that it definitely increased the productivity. And outside we talk a lot about ROI of these technology investment. Do you think like deal sourcing and my due diligence and deal room, all those things definitely increase your productivity, and you might able to get more from less?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Yeah, it's increasing productivity, it's increasing efficiency. Um, AI, yeah, I think you have to get behind AI. It's like the new internet.
So, Corey, like I think we are going for the last few minutes. I want to get like more in a data world. You said I think you maintain databases and you can do some analysis and figure it out whom to target, right? And how important, like for maybe other investors real estate might not have the same clean data, right? So how you achieve that in the first place? What's the disciplines and how you make sure that you have those clean data, and what you have to tell others that are starting maybe, and how to get started with the right way of having the clean data?
Yeah, I mean, for brokers, you have to have a CRM, which is a database. I would say to get away from Excel, a lot of people like to use Excel. It's because they're comfortable with it and it's cheap. You don't have to pay for it. Get a dynamic software that can track owners and properties and put them together. So, and then you can also categorize your investors of what their criteria is, 150 units and above, 50 units and above, 2 million to 5 million, 5 million to 20 million. If you can tag all your guys and you can categorize all your clientele, then you will have a clean database to where you can make those predictive calls of this guy will probably buy this. In real estate, though, like I said, multifamily, especially, people do have select groups that they want to be in certain properties, but at the same time, a lot of people want to look at everything. You've got to parse through all that data. And the more clean your database is and your CRM is, the better your prospecting will be. So I would say to fill up your database with all the buyers and then start with that. Figure out who owns everything, who's the most active, get those guys into your database. And then that's when you can start prospecting.
So, and one more thing that you mentioned previously, like underwriting might be totally taken over by AI. Do you see any functions in a real estate market as a broker that have a tendency that AI will take over?
I think AI, that's a great question. I love that question. But to answer it, I think AI will become more of like a chat box for us where we're not answering so many questions on the inbound calls of the details of, you know, who's paying which utilities, just certain questions. And you can load up a chat box to answer that. I think that's where AI is really going to help us as agents to allow us to have more productive meetings and in-person stuff with owners. I also do believe that the AI underwriting will become more dynamic. I think you're going to see a change. Like, we're already seeing it in lenders and with what's kind of happened recently. Maybe you won't see a change, but you'll see more of a discounted cash flow model rather than a net present value model to mitigate future risks because, discounted cash flow model is, your net present value of your future cash flow. So I think you're going to see more people gravitate to that because lenders are doing that right now. And AI can make that model pretty quick. So AI is going to accelerate everything and probably take over a lot of the underwriting. And I think it will help us with our databases and scrubbing databases and getting more and scrubbing data and getting more, more information about the property and the owner.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, I mean, this is more than I expected, to be honest. Like, I thought you are pretty good in technology. Like, it seems like you have go through a lot of on AI as well. And on top of that, you seems like a very pro AI. That's really good to see, like, in every aspect of the market, either it's real estate or any other, the people are really moving to AI. And in a final thought, I want to know, like, house this affordable housing is an issue, right? And how do you think technology plus people like you, to be honest, right, change the trajectory of this affordable housing? And I always see affordable housing crisis. So tell me, like, your vision and what do you think, like, taking next 5 to 10 years, what we will see?
Man,
Is there any time that I will never heard affordable housing in crisis?
you're asking a we might have to edit this whole part. I'm not going to get political, but
Yeah.
it's going to be slightly political.
Hmm.
I don't think we're ever going to get out of an affordability crisis. I think, I hate to say this, you could probably delete this from the podcast. I think it's a talking point for votes. It's a political scheme. I don't think they ever really want to change the fact that we have an affordable housing crisis. If you look at the mechanisms to build and the, regulations and things that prohibit developers, they're standing in the way. If they would let developers develop, we would not have an affordability crisis. The more supply, the less price. There's more competition. It's been proven. I don't know why people want to go to rent control. I'll still just lean that I think it's a political thing. It's a voter thing. If they really wanted to solve the crisis, they would just let developers go crazy. And
Crazy. Let
they'd get
builders build.
let builders build. And so unfortunately, I don't think that's something AI can solve. If it can, I'm all for it.
I think we should wish sometime, maybe in next 10 years, AI will be there. But
Yeah, right.
yeah,
AI will be running the government, mate. Who knows?
exactly. Yeah, Corey, I mean, thank you. Thank you for joining. Any final thought for the audience?
Yeah, my final thought for the audience would be to try to get involved with AI. It's the internet now. It's the new internet. You need to be exposed to it. You need to learn how to prompt an AI and you'll be fascinated by it. Incorporate it into your everyday life because it's been around for years, even though a lot of people don't recognize that AI has been here for years, but now it's at the forefront. I think we need to all embrace it and use it to be better people.
Absolutely. Thanks. Thanks, Cody. Thanks for your time. It's an excellent conversation. I think it's allowed to have someone think in angle of technology, though you are actually doing on marketing, it's a investment, brokerage, more on sales and marketing now, I would say. But I would
Absolutely.
need someone so on top of things.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
This conversation is not an investment or business advice. Thank you for listening. See you in next episode.